Welcome to Breakdown, August 5th, 2023. JJ.
Dad.
It's been a lot of stuff going on in the world of college sports today. You want to break it down?
Yeah, let's break it down.
What's the key word? Conference realignment.
Realignment? Yeah, I mean, it's either that or morning, because we're currently in the morning in one of the oldest conferences. I think.
Interesting. Update the fans. What's happened?
The Pac-12 has been completely ravaged. First, the USC and UCLA decided they need to get out. UCLA financially could not afford to continue with all the sports programs that they had going at the time, so they needed an answer that the Pac-12 they didn't think that they could get from the Pac-12. So they and USC contacted the Big Ten and asked their way into the Big Ten, and the Big Ten obviously accepted it.
Okay.
LA is the second biggest sports market, not just media market. It's the second biggest media market, but it's also the second biggest media market as it pertains to sports watching.
Okay. Smart move by the Big Ten there.
And the Big Ten has been picking up markets. I mean, the reason Maryland and Rutgers are even in the conference is because of their proximity to DC and to New York City. So, markets are very important to the Big Ten.
Okay. The Big 12 grabbed a few too.
Yeah, so after USC and UCLA left, announced that they were leaving, a year later, Colorado decided to rejoin the conference that they helped found.
Okay.
Back in the Big XII.
So Colorado left the Pac-12.
They left the Pac-12.
To go to the Big 12.
They were the first domino in this year around, and once Colorado left, Arizona was in talks. It's well known that the Big 12's conference leader believes that the basketball is undervalued, so he targeted Arizona. There's rumors that UConn and Gonzaga might also be joining the Big 12, and they just want to dominate basketball, which makes sense. You have Kansas, who won a championship 2 years ago, Baylor, who won 3 years ago. So their focus is to do what they can and grow as much as they can, and they took Arizona
State.
And then after Arizona was announced, that's when the Big Ten decided that they could, they could be the gentleman and step in and relieve Oregon and Washington from that situation. And once Oregon and Washington was gone, Arizona State had been holding out. They didn't want to. They didn't want to leave. I think they saw an opportunity to be like the flagship program of the Pac-12, with USC gone and Arizona gone and all that. But once Oregon and Washington decided to accept the Big Ten's offer at a bargain deal, that's the thing. The Big Ten got them at a bargain.
Okay, correct.
Yeah, they will not be getting a full share, probably until 2030 when the Big Ten does their next deal. They're still gonna be getting $30 to $40 million, which they would not have gotten from the Pac-12,
right,
or the Big 12. So once Oregon and Washington left, then Arizona State and Utah begrudgingly decided that they had to go to a real conference, and now there is no longer a Power 5, but there is a Power 4.
Okay, so the Pac-12
is now
seemingly overnight became the Pac-4. Seemingly.
Yeah.
JJ, back in August 24th, 2021, the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC joined an alliance. What became of that alliance?
The Big Ten,
that was less than 2 years ago.
That was less than 2 years ago. So they had alliance and agreement that they would not be going after one another's schools, and that they would be gentlemen, and that they would align themselves once they heard of the recent acquisitions of Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12 to the SEC.
Okay.
That's when that was announced. And then immediately after, the networks got involved. Fox reached out to the Big Ten and told them, this is what your number is going to be, probably without USC and UCLA. This is your number with UCLA and USC. And they reached out to USC and UCLA because there's no rules against that. There's no rules against the networks reaching out to schools.
We're not talking about rules. I was just trying to get an idea of that alliance.
Well, the alliance was pretty much
Paper Tiger?
It was never that. It was never an alliance.
You know, that was a historical event when they created that alliance. And some people falsely believed that it was going to cut back on what had happened with Texas and Oklahoma, but it did nothing. So the Pac-12 has become the Pac-4. This is my question, JJ.
Yeah.
Would the Pac-4 be better off to bring the Mountain West schools into the Pac-4, or would the Pac-4 be better off to leave the Pac-12 and go to the Mountain West?
I mean, it's going to be a merger, but you're going to keep the name of the Pac-12. That has the cachet. That's been around for 108 years. That's the second oldest conference after the Big Ten. So you're going to keep the name Pac-12, and you're going to have San Diego State come in. You're going to have Boise State come in. You're going to have Fresno State come in. You're going to have UNLV come in. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to the biggest markets you possibly can, and the team that play the best football that you possibly can out of the Mountain West. You're going to bring in Hawaii. If it's not a logistic issue, I could see them bringing in Hawaii.
Well, you know, that's a possibility, but I'm not sure that the Mountain West would want to give up its namesake and join the Pac-12 and, you know, become members. But that I guarantee you those will be discussions in the future. But I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed deal. If the four remaining schools right now, if they join the Mountain West Conference, their annual revenue will probably go from $30 million a year to $5 million a year in those neighborhoods. Can they survive off that in that neighborhood?
Well, so Stanford might not want to do that in general because Stanford has the ability to go independent if they want to.
Stanford has a 30 billion. Did I say billion with a B?
I believe
$1 billion
endowment. Yeah.
Right.
So they can pretty much do whatever they want to do. They can play Notre Dame. They can play, and the thing is, people will play Stanford. So Stanford doesn't have to join the Mountain West if they don't want to. But Stanford never wanted to be with the likes of the Arizonas and the Arizona States when they first joined in the 70s.
Right, true.
So how likely is it that they would want to be stuck with Oregon State and Washington State?
And another Midwest.
And mid-tier universities as it pertains to their academics, like the Boise States of the world.
Would Stanford be better off to go independent?
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason it was announced that the Big Ten had heavy interest in Oregon and Washington, and some interest in Cal and Stanford was the dollar figures, because they're going to present Stanford and Cal with an offer sheet that's less than what they presented Oregon and Washington.
JJ, let me ask you a question. Initially, in this first go round, why did the Big Ten not take Stanford? What does Stanford not possess that made the Big Ten not invite Stanford?
Any type of concern about the game of college football. Stanford does not care.
Wait a minute, Jim Harbaugh didn't say that.
Stanford does not care. They play on quarters, which is a disadvantage. Like their academic year goes on quarters, which is a disadvantage as it pertains to college football. They don't allow a lot of the people that graduate from Stanford as undergrads. They do not accept into their graduate program. So there's a lot of guys that have to transfer after they spent 4 years in the program at Stanford if they want to continue their football career, because they do not get admitted. They don't have basket weaving or kinesiology or any of these programs that you can just throw football players into and have them go to grad school for. You have to actually apply yourself as it pertains to their grad school. So it's not as easy to transfer into Stanford. There are so many reasons David Shaw was against NIL, and because he knew that would basically lead to free agency in college football, and Stanford is not. They do not play the free agency game. Michigan is a well-respected institution. Cal Berkeley is a well-respected institution. UVA, North Carolina, Texas, all of these are great public universities. They're great universities in general. But look, even Duke basketball. But Stanford does not play that game, and they don't play the college football game that all the other schools play.
JJ, who's the big winner? Is it the Big Ten or is it the Big 12?
The Big Ten is the big winner because they got USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. They got the 4 best programs, the 4 best brands, and the 4 best schools from the Pac-12. But the Big 12 is certainly a winner. I mean, they went from maybe the 5th best team, the best conference in the Power 5, especially after the Oregon and Texas departure, to potentially the 3rd. The ACC, I mean, you see Florida State, like, their president and their AD, like, foaming at the mouth, like, they're aligning themselves with JP Morgan Chase. They're literally trying to figure out.
Never go anywhere.
They're trying to figure out any and all ways that they can compete with the Big Ten and the SEC, and the Big 12 is in a very solid position right now.
You know, based on what you just said, I would have to say that the Big 12 is the big winner. The Big 10 is a winner because they were number 1 and they stayed number 1. The Big 12 was number 5 and they moving up to number 3. To me, that's the big winner. But
I think the Big Ten's still the big winner because they accumulated championship contending teams. Washington has made the playoff recently. Oregon has made the playoff recently. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
JJ,
I do not agree with that.
I understand what you're saying, but let me ask you this question: in the sports of football, baseball, and basketball, how many in the 2020? I mean, in the years that start with 20,000. How many Big Ten national champions have there been? I can think of one.
Yeah, Ohio State has won 2 national championships in 2002 and then 2020.
Okay, just 2. And then Michigan State in 2020. So that's 3. So I just because you got these, I mean, does the Big Ten really care about national championships?
I think they care about money. I think money.
That's what I'm
getting at. I think their idea is that money eventually will lead to national championships. But regardless of national championships or not, money will always lead to relevancy.
Okay. Let me ask you, the last question that I got on my mind, and I want to ask you: did the SEC get left in the Big Ten's dust by staying at 16 schools?
Absolutely not. The SEC has always been more about. SEC still has won 13 of the last 16 national championships, or 13 of the last 17 national championships, and they still have the back-to-back defending champion Georgia Bulldogs in their conference. I mean, they're doing fine. They've always been more regionally, like, they're spread. When they expand, they always expand in places that make a lot more geographical sense than the Big Ten. The Big Ten wants markets.
Okay.
The SEC wants to have a geographical footprint that makes sense, and you know they've been able to do that. I don't think that they're left in the dust, but I think the Big Ten is absolutely able to compete with SEC on a more even footing. I think than ever before in the 2000s. I think it's
you're talking football, basketball, or all sports.
Well, not baseball. I mean, I don't think they have a shot.
You got USC.
That's true. I still don't think that they have a shot at competing against the SEC in baseball. But in football and basketball, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA and Oregon have been to the Final Four in the past 6 years.
In basketball, it used to be the Big Ten dominated basketball in a lot of ways, but they didn't win national championship. The Pac-12 had UCLA a million years ago. But recently, in my mind, it's been the Big 12 as far as basketball consistency. But JJ, so much is going on with realignment. We're not going to get bogged down in all the minutiae of it, but it's a lot of stuff going on, man. Well, football will never be the same again. Is that good or bad?
It's different. That's all we know.
Okay,
I think it can be good. I think it can be bad. I think it depends on how it's managed and how it's handled. I'm hoping for the best. I think it can be really good. I think the programs like the Michigans and the Ohio States of the world, I think will always be fine, no matter you USC.
You forgot to mention Michigan State and Arkansas. I'm just saying.
Well, I think the Michigans and the Ohio States of the world will always be fine, and I would love for Arkansas. I mean, maybe less so Michigan State, but Arkansas to figure out carve out their lane in this madness. Realignment.
Well, JJ, no one can ever get through all the minutiae of the realignment thing, but you and I think we pretty much skimmed the top of it. Did we leave anything out that you want to touch on?
No, I mean, everything, it's a fluid situation, watch out for Cal and Stanford joining the Big Ten or going independent or who knows what. I mean, all of this is eventually the Big Ten's going to add Notre Dame. So when is that going to happen? Like, that's the next move. What do you think the next move is?
Man, I'm thinking the next move is going to be the ACC. Their ironclad media deal getting tore up or something. Being able to leave that conference, because once that expires, if it gets
in 2036,
correct, that's when the next thing big. I don't anticipate any more big things in the next couple of years. That's me.
Well, I would expect Cal and or Stanford to join the Big Ten at some point.
Okay.
And Notre Dame.
America, tell us in your comment what you think is going to be the next big move. But leave a comment, do the thumbs up, share, do the like. Can we get out of here? Or we got more work to do?
Let's get out of here.
We getting out of here. Next time. All right. Peace out. There you go.